How's it going, guys? And welcome back to another Q&A. Before we get anywhere, even the introductions, Mod Matt K has something to say.
You've introduced him now.
Yeah, it's too late, isn't it? Data warehouse. You all have heard about the data warehouse. It's been up and running now for what? 26 days to be exact. We're getting some information back from it, and we've got some information today. We made an update to the game earlier, which Ash will take us through what we have done.
Yes, so this went into the game about 10 minutes ago or thereabouts. It's a change to combat for people who have not been interacting with their clients for a period of time. It's quite simply interrupts the process where you would keep attacking an NPC repeatedly or a player repeatedly, so that if you have not been interacting with your client and you're just continuing to cast the same spell over and over again or keep on grinding with your guthins against the same target over and over again for ages, you'll just stop. You'll start again the moment you actually interact with your client, so it's not going to hurt legitimate players. But you are going henceforth to have to interact with the client in order to fight.
Yeah, so effectively, Nightmare Zone, splashing, bye.
Well, they're still there.
Yeah, there's still well, some of them.
Yeah. Nightmare Zone is still a very efficient and effective way to train if you're training it legitimately and at your computer. Yeah, we do have a video, I think. As soon as we can get that up, there we have it. This is World 329, moments before the update, and we'll just let it play.
So something goes all quiet.
It does, yeah. I haven't seen this yet.
Neither have I.
Bye-bye.
Did enjoy filming that.
There we go.
There we have it.
Yep.
Okay.
Done.
Introductions, right. Welcome to another Q&A. Today we're joined with Mod Matt K,
Right.
Mod Kieran,
Hello.
Mod John C,
Hiya.
Mod Ash,
Hello.
and myself, Mod Archie.
So, any questions?
Just a few.
No, see you next week.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see anything useful from the chat for the entire stream, quite frankly, but there we go.
Yeah.
Well, how's that different?
Fair.
Okay, so today we pulled sailing, if you're unaware. There's a fantastic video on the YouTube channel, I think. There's also a dev blog. You could read that. Yeah,
You're not biased at all.
vote for sailing. I'm not saying vote yes, not saying vote no, just vote. If you haven't gotten your opinion in.
Pretty sure I'd vote for sailing. Would
Okay, vote in sailing, jeez.
On.
Vote in sailing, really?
Vote.
Right in the sailing poll.
Sailing, vote.
Vote in the poll
Vote in the poll
about sailing.
about sailing. Right, first question.
Do you want to feed them lines all stream?
I'd love if there was something just scrolling down telling me what to say. Tom says, with sailing, how does death work? Say if a Kraken kills you, for example, do you lose all your items? Do you lose your ship? What happens?
It hasn't really been decided yet. It would all come down to balancing and what was fair. Because a lot of sailing was going to be instanced, having you lose all the items you were carrying probably would have been very harsh. But had the community been okay with that, so would I have been really. It's all down to what they wanted.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, when we talk about a Kraken killing you, I don't think we intended to actually copy the Cave Kraken with its high-level Slayer requirements and require that to get anywhere in sailing. We meant other big sea creatures of that nature, possibly related to the Kraken, possibly not.
So the mythological Kraken rather than the RuneScape Kraken.
Which looks suspiciously like a repainted Sea Troll Queen, yes. We didn't have a model editor back in those days.
The Quacken.
All right. Slaymasters asks, if sailing does not pass the poll, can we have a reworked summoning or dungeoneering poll instead?
You can't really ever see summoning or dungeoneering or any kind of rework of them really getting that much support. So you never say never, but I wouldn't expect it anytime soon.
I mean, the dungeoneering mechanic of auto-generation of dungeon is something we want to use elsewhere in a I don't want to say better environment, but in a more old school environment, which I think we want to use. Summoning changes combat so much, and we know how important combat is to you. So I think that would be, I think that stands a chance, summoning.
No, I think dungeoneering was done more of a chance, but you'd have, not in the same way that it was done.
No.
I think you'll find there's quite a lot of interest in creating a dungeon for you and your group of mates together to go explore with whatever items and skills you bring with you, and come back hopefully reaping huge rewards from it. I could see that suiting Old School quite well, because we have a lot of players who are quite into that kind of thing. However, calling it the Dungeoneering skill would imply that we were going to actually copy Dungeoneering from RS3, with all the myriad of graphics and models and animations and the exact details of that one. If we tried to do Dungeoneering for Old School, it would not be a copy of RS3's, because we just couldn't do that. Possibly if we did nothing else for an entire year, no other updates, just working on Dungeoneering, and you guys were still around at the other end of that year, that way you could get a copy of RS3's Dungeoneering. But as is, I don't think we can do Dungeoneering, and if we can't do it like that, we shouldn't call it Dungeoneering at all, to be honest.
Indeed.
Whereas making a raid dungeon, that might sell.
Or exploring randomly generated oceans.
Yes, indeed. Exactly.
Yes.
Part of the sailing skills, isn't it?
It's a fair point. It's also worth questioning whether people want the skill or the rewards with the skill. I would personally go for the chaotics, not so much the skill.
I've heard people say exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting poll, that one.
Yeah, Chris is what we call a noob.
All right.
Very much so.
Shots fired early on.
I see someone's in your shirt.
Oh, yes. One of my favourites.
Danny asks, if sailing passes, will clue scrolls be updated so that sailing is required to complete some clues?
Could be.
They'd have to really at some point, wouldn't they?
Yeah, we could.
It would make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd love to do another expansion soon. Some way away yet, but definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the last expansion we did to Clue Scrolls went down really well. I mean, you guys loved it, and
It was fun.
makes sense to do it again at some point.
It's the kind of thing that would come well with a huge area expansion.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. 22 asks, if sailing passes, can we see a graphics update to make the water look more like water?
We really need Gareth or
HD.
Alfie, don't we, really?
Well, I'm sure they can come up with the texture. It's
Yeah.
more how much the client can handle
Yeah.
at once if it's too intensive. But I'm sure it could be improved. But by how much is...
I know Gareth would like to. I know he said that before.
I'd love to as well.
So
It does look a bit like a carpet.
Yeah, I think you'd have to look at different types of water just to make the terrain look interesting, if nothing
Yeah.
else.
The engine does support animated textures. That's how, say, waterfalls are made, or the Motherlode mine with the water channel that's sometimes flowing and sometimes not. So a water texture could perhaps be made that will animate slightly differently. We wouldn't want it just flowing as like there's a big ocean current or something.
yeah, something to just add features rather than just a flat square of just water.
For what it's
basically.
worth, if we took the texture off of it and just had it as plain blue, like you get in Keldagrim in the River Kelda there, and used, say, ground decor, in the way the Tsar area has channels of lava cracking through the floor, they might be able to draw something like that would be built onto the floor of the sea,
Oh, I see, yeah.
which would get us away from the very small tileable texture, and maybe be a nicer effect, with maybe even some kind of ripple patterns if we're lucky. I don't know exactly what would be possible with that, but it'd be nice to find out.
Indeed.
All right. In addition to that question, he asks, if we can introduce sailing, will you increase the render distance? Is that a possibility?
Oh, well,
Sorry.
that very much depends on how players' computers are processing the game as it currently is. The more we draw, the lower your frame rate. If you've got an amazing computer, might be you'll be fine as is, and you'll be fine with a bit more churn, and you'll be able to have a bigger draw distance. On the other hand, when Resizable came out, a lot of people said that they were having trouble with the frame rate. Now, not all of that was us. In fact, players also reported that if they moved back to the official client from whatever they were using before, sometimes they found the frame rate improved substantially. But it will be worth us finding out what frame rate people are getting with our clients now, before putting in a lot of dev time potentially to let them have an optional bigger draw distance. Ultimately, it would always be a choice of whether the player thought their computer could handle it or not, but we'd like to know before we put in the dev time roughly how many people are likely to be able to use it.
Okay.
Love data.
John, in your test stream earlier, I noticed one of the edges was not a flat black edge. It was instead a faded edge. Do you know what I'm talking about?
At the edge of the map square?
Yeah.
Oh, that's because the height terrain on the neighbouring map square is not flat.
Yeah. That I found made it look a lot nicer. Obviously, it's still the same distance rendered. But even something like that can make it look a bit prettier.
Yeah, we can certainly make it look like you're not just staring off into the black distance by effectively building a wall. But if the closer you get to the wall, the sillier it's going to look, I guess.
Right.
It depends how close we're going to get. But
Maybe you want to sail into the unknown.
But not up a hill into the...
All right. Peach asks, if sailing does not pass the poll, will any of the ideas be recycled and possibly introduced elsewhere?
Oh, I think so.
yeah, whatever you guys want, whatever's popular, we can certainly repackage and throw in with something else.
Okay, easy enough. Will asks, the game can't be called Old School Runescape if you add a new skill. That's not a question, but it was said a bunch.
Yeah, one of the things that when we went away for our away day not too long ago, we were talking about what old school was. And one of the things we came up with was, if we'd have done it back in 2007, then it is something that we should consider for old school. And the question is, would we add a new skill back in 2007? Yes, we did, because I think 2000.
Summoning was 2008.
Yeah, summoning was 2008, so we would have added a new skill. And the type of skill that was designed, sailing was designed, is more 2007 than dungeoneering, summoning, divination. It was designed specifically to fit in with what was important to our players. So arguably, saving skill is more 2007 than adding dungeoneering and the summoning. So yeah, would be something we'd do.
Yeah, one of the things with sailing is that it's designed to be integrated with the existing game and not take the game to another level like summoning did, in the way that it completely changed the way you think about things like combat and even using a yak to train various skills. Sailing was there to make use of the existing content and add to it and add value rather than just take you to the sort of next level of gameplay that those skills did.
All right. Umair asks, could you change the tentacle whip so that it has a 50-50 chance of dropping instead of the whip when PKing? Sorry, the kraken, I should say.
Feels a bit artificial, given that the tentacle consumes the whip after using so much power.
I think a better solution is to find another use for the
trying.
kraken tentacle.
It's a tough one though.
Yeah.
Yes, we tried that idea for upgrading Circle with sinew cut from a kraken tentacle.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough agreement on what the thing should do though, so we moved away from the idea again.
I had a couple of minor uses in mind for sailing, but none really sort of written down yet.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. King Kai asks, great name, can you please have agility actually affect the amount of time your character can run for? For example, a level 99 agility guy could run significantly longer than somebody with 1 agility.
Seems logical, doesn't it? Where there's practical things behind it.
It's kind of like when you first start playing Old School and you see agility, you think that's probably what that's used for, but then it's not.
Here's the thing, if we had introduced that at the beginning and all the players with low agility were accustomed to not being able to run very far, and people with high agility gradually found that it got further and further, that would make sense. But if we suddenly change it now so that people with high agility can run a lot further without running out of energy, that's going to really affect the rate at which people ever need, say, an energy potion.
Yep.
Yeah.
It would be about as significant a change as the introduction of the rest feature back in 2009 or thereabouts. And that's something that we've often had a lot of opposition to, because for all the people who would love to be able to run further without having to drink potions, there's other people who want there to be some actual profit involved in the herblore skill for selling energy potions. So, given that we can't, make things worse at lower levels now, so as it gets a bit better at high level, about the same at mid level, a bit worse at low level, we can't do that because it would be very harsh on people who've been playing for a while, including all the free to play. So,
That's true.
I think it would be pretty darn significant if we went and did that. That's just a ramp up from the current state at high levels.
Okay. All right, next question. A. Lamau asks, when will we get to see new fishing trawler outfit? It's his second question in 2 weeks.
Alfie has actually just finished all the models for that, and I've been implementing them today. There are a couple of bugs with it. Yeah. And I will actually tweet a picture of one of the bugs earlier because it looked very much like Ash does with his arms. So it looked very much like that. So when I was attacking with a Zami spear, it looked hilarious. But yeah, I'll show you a picture of that later. But hopefully it should be ready for next update. And the intention is that you'll have just a small fishing requirement on it, 34. And you get it from Fishing Trawler.
Okay. And it offers a small bonus as well?
Yeah, small bonus to your fishing XP of 2.5% for the full set.
follow-up question to that, can Iron Men obtain it?
If they can't play the trawler, they're not going to be able to get it. Possibly in future we can implement a different way for them to get it, but currently they cannot.
Okay.
We've had a fair few requests to, say, instance the trawler so that Iron Men can just go try and trawl solo. Trouble is, the trawler code written a very long time ago, before we had instanced areas, it's not at all amenable to being adapted to work in an instance. We would have to rewrite the trawler from scratch, which is something I'm not opposed to doing, to be honest, because I think we could maybe improve some of that code a bit. But it's not something we can just turn on for the sake of Iron Men in a few minutes.
Right. All right. Mordelin asks, is the bug report forum on forums actually useful? I've submitted a few myself, just want to make sure they're actually doing anything.
Yes, it's the best way to get hold of us. Soon, TM, we should have the ability to, well, you should have the ability to send us bug reports from your game client. It's with Engine at the minute and will hopefully be out inside the next couple of weeks, but I don't really have an ETA. But yeah, if you find bugs, that's the best way to get them to us.
Yep.
It's super helpful. Often people will post bugs on Reddit or on Twitter, but it is honestly so much more helpful that you go and do it on the bug report forum, because it'll go directly to me and John, the right people, to look at the bug and get it sorted out as quickly as possible.
Also, if somebody isn't checking Twitter for a few days, like because they're ill or on holiday or just offline at home, then other colleagues can actually get the bug report that you sent through that form, whereas if it had gone to somebody's Twitter, the rest of us aren't going to see it.
Very good point. All right. Apple Juice asks, might there be any plans to support player-run events in-game? RS3's in-game clock that highlights upcoming events has been a big help.
I'd like to.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you want a calendar in-game that players can add events to, and you can then go and see what sort of events are going on at that time, and then choose the ones you want to go to. Would be ideal. Sounds like a mammoth job, but it would be ideal. I suppose you could have drop-down things, otherwise you have people typing rude words in all the time for everything, wouldn't they?
Disable moderation would just have fixed event.
So you have to have a whole list of this is my sort of thing, this is my sort of party, and you could do a search function where you can type in the fields you're looking for, press go, and it will list everything that's coming up.
Well, if it maybe just sniffed off the thread titles from the Old School Events forum, that could be a starting point, because the existing features of the forums would then protect against spam as well as they do on the forums.
Yeah, and we could also get Ronan's magic retweeter tool to tweet them out as well, using stuff stolen from the forums.
Oh, that's brave.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the key things with these, any sort of system like this is it's got to be automated, because we can't handle 300,000 players wanting to make events. We can't do that as a team, so everything has to be automated when we do it, so that you will have a chance of being involved. So there you go.
And by Ronan's auto retweet tool thing, you mean the thing that tweets at the streams?
Yeah.
Yeah. That could definitely be added to that, I think.
Yeah, would make sense.
All right. Do you want to grab one from the chat there? I can't quite see the screen, actually.
When is Max Cape? So Maz has actually started the dev work on that, but it's probably still a good few weeks away yet, I'd say. I don't think graphics have been started on yet, so a fair while yet, but work has begun.
Yeah, that's going to be the key thing, is getting a good emote for it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rivaling the Achievement Diary Cave one, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because that thing has about everything in the game.
I know Gareth has got some great ideas for it, so...
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we definitely want it to be that best emote.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
And then should we ever do a completionist cape or anything like that? What are we going to do with that?
That's fine, we'll just give them 5,000 Castle Wars games to complete, and then nobody will get it.
Modmaz has a great idea for the... Modmaz has a great idea for the NPC that's going to give it out as well, but you're going to have to wait and see.
It's still not going to make me go mine and max though.
All right, next question. Jadpone asks, can Cerberus drop a Cerberus head to be placed in your player-owned house?
I actually considered that when we were first designing the boss. The problem is we don't have space on the POH hotspot for any more heads. So if we get some new rooms soon, it's a possibility if we had the same hotspot there. But at the minute, no, it's not possible.
Okay.
POH rooms can support a limited amount of hotspot data. In particular, they've got 7 hotspots. I think 3 of them can have 7 varieties, and the other hotspots can only have 3 varieties, which severely limits what we can add, because the guy who wrote construction naturally filled all his hotspots.
All right. Herbar asks, when opened, can poll booths tell us how many days until the next poll?
Only if we know in advance how long it will be until the next poll, which we don't always know.
Yeah.
We're talking about, actually, I was talking to the analytics team, the guys who do all the data, and we're talking about once we get the polls off the website with all the cool stuff we can do. And as it Simon turned around and said, so you could do your own choose your own adventures through the poll module. And I'm like, sounds amazing. So there we go, another use for it.
That'd be a very laborious way of writing a quest.
It would.
Moving on, Mitch asks, why will the Abyssal Bludgeon only have one attack style? It's a bit odd.
So it wasn't directly competing with the whip, I think, was the main reason. So it only provides strength XP and hit points as a byproduct, and obviously the whip can't provide just strength XP. So as it fits into the same sort of tier, it's got another niche little use, alongside it being best in slot crush.
So for those of you that don't know, the Abyssal Bludgeon will only have a strength training option with its crush attack style. Quite unique. I actually really like that. All right. Quincy asks, what is the most important hotfix you've ever had to make? And for
That
Ash?
typo last week.
Well, there was 7th of June 2006, the Falador Massacre. I hotfixed that.
It's fair.
Any competition?
I thought the one today would probably be quite important as well. Yeah.
Don't think it compares to the Paladon Massacre though.
No, not much does. I mean, I've hotfixed out the odd duping bug over the years, but the Falador Massacre was epic. It was also my first emergency call out. I just got this phone call at about 2 in the morning saying, you know, Ash, you said you might be willing to do emergency call out work. We've decided to go ahead with that plan. Are you doing anything? I wasn't doing anything, so I came into work and fixed the Falador Massacre.
Lol.
I think you win.
There we go.
All right.
For what it's worth, no one else here actually has access to deploy hotfixes, so it wasn't as much of a competition as it might have been.
Yes. Let's forget the other question from the chat.
Anyone read it?
Synthetic Quicksilver says, could you make it so that items dropped on death in instance Kraken drops outside the instance?
Why are you dropping items? Oh, from the boss, okay.
Yeah, if
Could
go
you
to
make
the
it so that
instance
items dropped on death in instance Kraken
So they
drops
die
outside
too.
the instance? There we go, I've got a comma in there now so I can read it properly.
It doesn't even work that way with Zulra.
Well, the thing about Zora is that priestess collects all your stuff for you, and the instance Kraken does not have a priestess.
Fair enough.
The reason being, Zora was an unknown boss that no one had seen before in a place where, hey, it being an instance, you'd never be able to get your stuff back. And we were having a lot more disconnection problems in those days than we are today. So we pitched it a lot more on the safe side than we maybe would have done later. Instance Kraken, however, people had seen the Kraken boss before and practiced on the Kraken boss. They knew what it did, they knew what it didn't do. And by and large, people aren't dropping dead to the instance Kraken boss a lot. So it didn't feel necessary to make it, well, zero risk in the way that we had done with Zora.
If you want an instance Kraken, it's a risk you got to take
Yeah,
to
pretty
have
much.
the access.
It does come with a big red warning as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that feeds in quite nicely to one of the threads on Reddit earlier today about death, what happens, or can we revert the death changes?
I've got a
because
question
we've
about
had-
that.
Oh, sorry. I didn't think you might have, but
Well, he's got an answer for it then.
yeah. But I mean, effectively, obviously the anti-DDoS stuff is going on and stuff is happening. It's not complete yet, but things are going on. It's got better, which I'm sure you've noticed, which is great. Doesn't mean it's going to be better forever. You know, the things change, the internet changes, and different sorts of attacks happen. So they're going to stay as they are for the time being. When we do change them, we're not going to poll it. We're not going to say should we change it back, because I think it has to change back for the good of the game. If it changes back to the same thing, that is something we can talk about. Should we change it so that we look at GE prices rather than the current prices? There's all these options we can talk about. I mean, the key thing I have is making sure we tell everybody, because that's going to be the biggest risk, and I'm wondering whether we need to get a pop-up system in game so that when you first log in after this, everybody knows.
You can have it as a game
without
message
date.
underneath Welcome to RuneScape.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with that is people just don't read it, so we want something that people would definitely know they have understood that they're going to die and lose their stuff again.
Maybe they get a random event that yells at them until they dismiss it.
A
Maybe.
red game mess when you log in would probably do the job.
Yeah, there's all sorts of ways we can do it, so we need to have to think about that. But that's the biggest risk, I think, to putting it back. It's making sure everybody knows, because people log in without looking at the website. People don't look at the social stuff that we do, don't look at the login messages or anything else, and will happily go off to kill something and not think twice about going to get the stuff back as suddenly it's disappeared.
We could actually write it in great big letters on the login screen if we wanted to. Of course,
Check
if
out
we
the
do it
full
at the
screen.
moment, it would be mirror image because the login screen picture is
Oh
mirror
yeah, that's
reflect.
right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
if we wrote on the login screen in big red letters, it would be written backwards as well, which would look really weird. But we could.
Someone likes your socks, Matt.
Yeah, I say they should. Quite frankly, they are pretty cool.
Question in the
They
chat.
got a
Where'd you
little,
get those cool
face on
socks, Matt?
as well. See, yeah. Good socks.
When and why?
Because I all my socks had holes in, so my wife made me buy some new socks. So I said, I'm going to get you back and buy the worst socks I could possibly find. So I bought bright pink socks. My boys wear black socks. My daughter wears grey socks. So if I buy more black socks, you know, I'm never going to find them amongst all my other kids' socks. So I thought if I buy the worst colours ever,
But it's on Wednesdays that we wear pink.
Okay.
embarrass everybody.
Uh,
Real life.
Moving on, Gucci asks, can the God Wars dungeon pets act as god items?
It's an easy enough thing to do, but boss pets have always been just cosmetic. It's and because they're so difficult to obtain, it would feel almost wrong to
I just
give
wanted to
them a
straight out
use
say
now.
no.
Yeah,
Feels like the
I mean,
first
it
step
takes away from the
towards-
fact you've got to sacrifice some gear
Yeah.
and an inventory slot to wear like a monk's robe or whatever Ceridome item you want to use.
yeah. I was going for the diplomatic approach.
Well, you got to slam down the silly ideas sometimes, John.
Up in Newcastle, they don't take nothing like that.
All right. We've
Nothing's diplomatic there.
actually got an image
know,
for
I've
this
driven
next
through it
question, if we can find that. Percy asks, can these rocks be changed back to their native colors? I have difficulty seeing the ore that's inside.
Well, those bottom ones are really weird looking, but yes, we would be able to do that.
I like the bottom ones.
Yeah, I must admit, they're the ones I grew up with. So.
I like the bottom ones
That's
as well.
the
I'm
ones
not
from
gonna lie.
Tutorial Island.
Yeah.
Can be done. Can probably be done without any map editing having to be done. We can probably do it all in the config if we're lucky.
There you go.
Yes, is in the chat right
Single
now.
no.
That seems quite popular. That maybe we ought to poll that on the next poll. I reckon.
Result.
Don't know if that would pass. It's a close one. You know what? Yeah, let's drop pull it. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Would you like the rocks, the mining rocks there, ores, whatever you want to call them, to revert back to their old form? Bit easier to tell if there's an ore inside of it.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah, that makes perfect sense.
All right, that'll be in the chat for you shortly to vote on. Make sure your vote counts. Next question. Do you have something to say?
I was just trying to remember in Classic whether originally all rocks were grey and you had to prospect and see what was in it, or mine it to see whether you got anything or not. And then one day there was an update where the rocks were flashing different colours and it felt really weird.
There was only one pickaxe in Classic as well. Wasn't there?
Yes, that's right.
All right, there. That straw poll is in the chat now. Talon asks, with the addition of the new Abyssal Sauce bot, Abyssal Sauce,
Abyssal
bot.
Socks.
Abyssal Sire boss.
Yeah.
Will you be able to get the music track without having a Slayer task, or will all lower level music cape holders need to get 85 Slayer to keep the cape?
We wouldn't give the music track a high Slayer requirement like that.
Yeah, we almost made that with Cerberus to ensure it was accessible.
Okay.
And we'll do the same.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. The results there from that straw poll, nearly 2,000 votes already. Doesn't look like it's going to pass.
87 yes.
What a shame.
It's like nearly 90%, so. Cool.
One of the most positive ones.
One of the best straw polls we've ever pitched.
One of the weirdest things I found in our repository is that the newer rock models, the ones that you're voting to get rid of, they've been saved out with a file name of rock spelt with a W, W-R-O-C-K. Now,
Why?
of course, the artists could save the file out with any name they liked, up to and including sofa, and just the game wouldn't care whether it was spelt right or not. But they just chose not to spell rock correctly. I don't know
Who
why.
was the artist? Maybe it was William, and it was William's Rock, or Wilfred, or I don't know. I think of any of their names beginning with W.
Sounds a little odd to put a signature on a rock.
There's a file name called Tim Rocks, scenery definition file. It's just called Tim Rocks. It's got no rocks in it. It's called that because Mod Tim wanted to tell everyone he rocks.
I like finding old models like that. Like Jad's model name is Lord Magnus.
Isn't it a type of shoes a rock with a W? Oh, no, that's works, isn't it?
A quack?
Are we going
Yeah,
for a croc
yeah,
joke?
quack, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay. We got there. All right, next question. Armin asks, with Resizable, can we have the ability to stretch the chat up higher?
Yeah, potentially. Yes, I think we've got the engine feature we needed to make it remember its position.
Okay. That wouldn't make the text bigger. That would just show you more text. earlier
Although
on.
for making the text bigger, Ian's working on something that will scale up all the interfaces, menus, chat boxes, text, minimap, I think.
That sounds a bit
And
handy.
that would be really quite useful because, of course, people with a 4K monitor out there at the moment, it's, well, they can't read very much.
Yeah. All right. Renz asks, when can we expect to see a poll regarding the extension of Barbarian Assault points from 500 to 1,000 plus, as well as stackable queens?
The next one.
Yep.
Next poll. All right. Brigade asks, can we see an update to the Wilderness Mage Arena? Perhaps a hard mode that can unlock new mage spells and degradable mage gear? The Wilderness Mage Arena is an awesome place, but unfortunately you really only visit it once.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could try and make something repeatable in there. New spells, you have the issue of coming up with what the spells do, because with magic it's sort of always focused on the one spell, which is Ice Barrage.
You
There's
could have a better cape, or the staff you get from it could give you, I don't know, a bit more powerful spell.
Autocast with the
Yeah,
spells.
it's the
You have to go
autocast
back.
as well.
Yeah, going back to recharge it from the same thing. So you always have to go back.
A follow-up question, kind of adding on to that one from someone else, asking, what about different god capes? Bandos, Zero, Sarmadil, and thus different bosses in there or something to fight? Adding to the challenge.
That's the major
What they
areas.
would do aside from just being cosmetically different, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we would want to make them better. So it would just be a cosmetic difference. But I think people like the cosmetic differences, to be honest. People will pick the Zavi cape if it goes better with their gear,
Yeah.
or the Gothic Swan.
We have to write some story to explain why
Yeah.
Collodion has just discovered these 3 new gods.
All of a sudden there's a hard mode. Yeah, okay, worth exploring then.
Maz has suggested that he look behind the fridge.
So you keep your gods. That's a nod from Naz.
Okay. Brogan asks, will we ever see some kind of threshold system for boss pets? It's unfair seeing people with 10,000 plus boss kills that still haven't received a pet.
That's not unfair, that's RNG, that's the task you take on. You could get one-
Harsh.
You could get one on the first kill, you could never get one in a million kills. So
No holding
It's a
back.
system the whole game uses, and everyone's used to it. And everyone, well, apart from the people that get screwed over by it, everyone likes it.
Yeah.
I mean, I do quite like the threshold system that Ryan came up with for boss pets in RuneScape.
Yeah.
But I'm not giving you that. That's the grind. You want to, it's 1 in 5,000. So that's no guarantee you're going to get it in 5,000 at all. I'm not even sorry.
We want them to be super rare. We want them to be super rare and hard to obtain.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point.
Yeah.
I think if it was kind of like, at your 10,000th kill, if you still haven't received one, you're guaranteed one. It just kind of make everybody else who had gotten one, not feel as achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also that aspect.
Just a little bit. All
And
right.
so those stories, I've killed 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, never got one. They're the sort of, the stories that you want to hear, really.
Yeah, that's why
It's all part of the game, yeah.
Then there's
That's
lucky.
terrible.
Then you get the odd lucky Iron Man who looks out on his first Kraken kill, pulls out a pet, and everyone's mad.
All right. Another not controversial question. Stickaplex asks, can you reintroduce the lending system?
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
I remember what the buy-to-rent effect did to the economy back in the day when we had it. It wasn't a good effect.
No, absolutely. I mean,
It's
you're
like the
going to
Cambridge
find
housing market.
You just
You're
trade
gonna
around junk, didn't you?
what you ended up doing is people. The price. I'm trying to remember how it works now. The
Well,
price
people
of
never wanted to
yeah.
sell the thing because once you got one, you could rent it out. So why would you ever sell? The price just
Yeah.
kept going higher and higher for buying it off somebody else.
The only purpose of the lending system was that there was no free trade. You couldn't give an item to your friend
Yeah.
to use for a couple of hours and give you it back.
Yeah.
So that was put in place so that you could still give gear to your friends. So it's sort of not required for our game at all.
Because we're not having a trade restriction ever.
To go to your friend, hey, I have a really hard Slayer task, mind if I borrow your Ellie? That's not really fair. Not everybody has a friend with an Ellie. That's what I think about. That should be the first place
kind
to
of
go.
like I was trying to figure out how we can get a joke in there about Audis. Let's just get that elephant out the room now, shall we?
Is it a red Audi or a blue one?
So it's
Russwit
blue, why not?
asks, can you please poll adding compost and super compost after a seed has been planted?
Yeah, I can make that change. It's
Yeah.
not all that difficult.
Just make sure you don't let it be added up to the point when when it's fully grown and
Yeah, of
harvestable.
course.
It's just at the same time as that the fertile soil spell can be used.
Yeah, there's a reason the fertile soil spell was written a little differently, because I wrote that one and I didn't like what had been done with the farming in the first place.
Okay.
When I was working on the spells for this, like the water patch spell, I needed a placeholder graphic because the graphics team hadn't finished yet. So when it came to watering a patch, the graphic the animation I chose was the player's laugh emote, where you kind of shake your belly and your hips wiggle a little, and I coupled it with the watering can sprinkle, so that it looked like you were watering the patch. And as the water actually appeared on the ground, it was awesome. I don't think we ended up using that spell in the end. Well, we certainly didn't use that graphic for it, but I had a lot of fun coding it.
Somewhat related. Why is it that when you go to pull out your crops, you kind of like go like this, you just like get whiplash?
You look at them, you're admiring them.
You're kind of like, broke my neck. All right, never mind.
I like to think of it as you're sort of having a look. Like, oh, that's beautiful. Wink.
I really thought you said something else.
Putting out his Crocs.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Okay.
Rhymes, at least.
All right, next question. Pappy asks, how goes the progress with the Abyssal Sire? Sauce Boss, Abyssal Sire.
Mod Ghost is making some serious nice progress with all the graphics and animations in the environment, because that was the brunt of the job. I don't believe content development's made much headway yet.
No, we can get started on the code work next week when the graphics are in place.
In terms of launch, I think we were looking at 2 weeks from today.
We would be aiming for the 24th, if all goes to plan.
Cool. Okay. Awesome.
It's worth saying that the environment looks amazing.
I've not seen anything like that.
Did just tweet out one of the little sneaker. Jeez, I can't speak today.
Yeah, it was like 6 o'clock last night. I turned around just to see, because I have Ian sits behind me, and then on the opposite side of Ian's desk is Mod Ghost. And I turned around, and Gareth was sat there with a really weird grin on his face, just showing off this animation, and then turned his monitors around to face us. And so yeah, I vined it. It's on my Twitter feed at JXJohnC if you want to see it. It's something.
Mod sell out.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
It's worth it for the
Yeah,
Twitter followers.
You need to see this, Brian. I can't describe it to you. You need to just go and see it.
I'd like to see you trying to describe it in a polite way on the screen.
Yeah.
Is this the whip one?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Ah.
something.
It's
Yeah.
NBC
You
that.
went too far already.
Yeah, you know what? All right.
No, it wasn't the animation that took me by surprise. It was just how keen Mod Ghost was that we saw it. That's what took me by surprise.
Best attack style in the game, I think. All right. You'll have to find out in 2
Yep,
weeks.
I see from some of the comments they've seen it.
Yeah, good luck coming up with finding a nice sound for that, by the way. When you come to
Right.
plug that in.
Moving on. Droid asks, can we see mage and range equivalents to proselyte gear?
Oh, like prayer boosting, low defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got gaps for that. I'm
That's
sure.
definitely somewhere that we could fill up somewhere. Probably not through like the White Knight, because that doesn't make sense.
Be a good thing to
But,
plug into sailing when everyone's voted for it.
And I'm the sellout. But yeah, no, we've got loads of content gaps like that need filling, but I wasn't aware of that one, so it's a nice idea. Could you write that down?
I was going to.
Oh, well, Kieran with a notepad. Well done.
It's quite full today as well.
Yeah, there's some good questions. Ethics, is it possible for people who enjoy aggressive random events to toggle them on? I enjoy taking a break from grinding skills and the risk. I completely agree with this. Fishing in Karamja, the old days, and then like a fishing troll popped out of nowhere, you want to show off that you can hit really high hits on it.
That's true, that actually, yeah. I must admit.
Remember the
Yeah.
days?
Yeah.
Mr. Hyde wanted to throw down. You had to show your friends what you could do. They know what I'm talking about.
They do, yeah. No, I think I see that, yeah.
I can relate to that. Spending 10 minutes trying to bow down a strange plant only for it to disappear.
It's all about it's all about the people who type cyan scroll and then have little fish text scrolling across the screen. That's what I always did.
Would you
They seem very positive about it, don't they? Which is quite
How big of a task do you think that is?
would you toggle it then that some random events are aggressive for you or all?
I would make it a blanket all or nothing if
Okay.
it was going for that, but we don't have to.
Yep.
Just need a whole load of tick boxes. Tick the ones you want to.
Chat's quite
Partake in.
responsive today. There's a bunch of fish in the chat. Well
Yeah.
done, Kieran.
There we go.
Yeah,
Is that a yes or a no, though?
I don't know.
Okay. Mage asks, can you address the issue about 100% damage from Iron Men being a problem. As it currently stands, players are trolling Iron Man by hitting the boss once, then leaving to ensure the Iron Man doesn't get the drop.
We did talk about that when we first brought out Iron Man. What would we do? And I think we came to the conclusion that anything less than 100% was against what the fundamental rules of Iron Man was, that you do it yourself.
I mean, we do have a couple of options that we've already offered in the form of instancing bosses. It's just not passed. The other option would be to have an Iron Man world or two, but then I imagine all of the Iron Men will be Iron Man fighting over those spawns.
Yeah.
That's a big change.
I think that it boils down to you wanted it difficult, you've got it difficult.
Yeah.
We can't really have an Iron Man world just because of the wilderness, basically.
Oh, that's very good.
Like,
point.
the Iron Men would be able to go in the wilderness basically safe.
Yeah.
So we can't
You
do
say that. I'm sure there's a few that would go out there and
Yeah, but not to the same extent, I guess.
So
There are PvP only Iron Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do kill everybody. Okay, that's a very good point, though. All right, to follow up with that, can we have the ability to peek in Godwar's dungeon boss rooms and see the boss's health?
Can't be made to work reliably because the game can't always find the boss in there to look up its health. But provided you don't mind, sometimes it just won't be able to give an answer. Really? Then we can go there. He wears socks, now he does this. Yeah.
Bottle rustling. I got told off for rustling my bottle.
there's a question from the chat from Spirit Coyote. Would it be possible to see an in-game live streaming option in Old School similar to the one in RS3? The issue with Twitch integration is that there's a whole load of boxes we need to tick for before Twitch will let us do it, and that would mean a serious revamp of the Old School game frame, and I can't see that being too popular.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things I'd quite like to do with Twitch. In particular, all the other programs that plug into Twitch to make you get all those nice graphics on screen. I'd like to get that working as well, but I don't think actually in-game is the right way to do it.
Yeah, we can offer you a whole lot of support and other things to try and get you to just make streaming a bit more visible for you and a bit easier, a bit more accessible. But yeah, full integration's not really on the cards for us at this time.
Yeah, but one of the things I want to do is when I'm over in TwitchCon, I'm going to go and have a chat to the XSplit people because they're going to be there as well as
OBS?
the people who do the on-screen graphics. Twitchify. Is it Twitchify they're called?
There's a bunch of them.
But there's those guys there. I want to have a chat with them and see if we can sort of do something with those to make it a lot easier for them. So,
Okay.
we'll see.
Go ahead.
I've been requested to say something by the chat.
I can see
They want, they want me to say, it's 8 AM in the Big Brother house.
You know,
There you go.
just because the chat asks you to do something doesn't mean you have to do it. Given some of the things they've said to us over the years, which
Well,
we
there's
have
a
not done.
line that I won't cross, but being asked to say certain things, maybe I can do that.
Yeah, we'd all have had a couple of marriages.
I'm not that much of a performing monkey though.
So where's the line?
Oh, let's not try and find the line.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
To touch back on
I'm
the
sure the
Twitch,
chat's going to try though.
Yeah.
to touch back on the Twitch question real quick, just to point this out, Ash, I believe you mentioned this last Q&A as well. There have been some streams that are getting view-botted, and they're frequently taking the #1 spot on the RuneScape Twitch spot there, and they're advertising sailing betas, dead man mode betas. They're not actually betas. Please don't click on the links. They're just trying to take your stuff.
Yeah, that's something else I'm going to be raising with Twitch when I get there,
Yeah.
so that we can get that sorted out.
If you see one of those, feel free to report them. They're actually quite quick at them lately with removing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are no sailing betas. There are no dead man betas.
Yeah, be very careful on like the YouTube comments as well. I've seen it happen there too. So
Yeah, while we're still on Twitch integration, I'd like to cover social integration as well. It's something I've kind of been exploring a little bit in my spare time, and that is a little bit more of a possibility. Like you can just have an integrated Twitter side panel to the client. This is the first time these guys are hearing about it as well, which is probably being looked at.
It's fine, I want to do it for ages, yeah.
But yeah, it's actually a possibility. We've got to do a bit more exploring though. It's a long way off yet.
Cool.
All right. Ghoul asks, can we have the ability to see monsters and other players' hit points when fighting them? So similar to what we have for the Corp. But for players and
Can do if it'll pass a poll.
I mean, damage counters. So
yeah.
Depends how many NPCs are present. In the courtroom, it knows exactly which NPC you're interested in. Elsewhere, might be a bit more challenging.
It'll be interesting to see whether they would want it in game. So we could get straw polled about this, because my big concern about that is that players wouldn't vote for it. I think there are those risks with it, but getting a straw poll for that would be quite interesting to see.
It's a bit of a helper, to be honest, especially with PK. You
Indeed.
can see that advantage. So, to ask the question again, would you like the ability to see other players as hit points and other bosses? Just bosses is stated in this question. I wouldn't imagine every monster.
Yeah.
So just bosses and other players' hit points.
Yeah.
You have a bar on your screen somewhere
Yeah.
telling you what they have. That'll be in the chat for you momentarily to vote for. Next question. John Ead asks, can we have the ability to combine the small fishing net with a rope? Can we also have wieldable fishing rods?
I saw that suggestion on Reddit. I like the.
I answered to it on Twitter. Carry on.
Well, if you answered
I
it.
suggested it in Artisan.
I asked it.
Well, I feel like I'm late to the party here.
Maybe we should do it.
And I'm Patrick.
Did they ask you to do that?
No.
Okay.
I got the SpongeBob reference.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've got a 5-year-old niece.
Very good.
So, wieldable fishing rods. What we'd need is a suitable animation for when you're walking around with it, because of course having it sticking out the front of you is just going to go through the scenery if you're walking around like that all the time. And we'd need to update all the code that's checking your inventory for a fishing rod when you click on a fishing spot to check your right hand as well for fishing rods there. Otherwise it won't notice it's there, which is not a problem. We can do that kind of thing. The combined net and rope thing, again, not a problem, although that's a slightly bigger change to what you've got to carry around with you. We just add a bit of code so you can separate them again when you're finished with them.
Okay. We have the results there from the straw poll asking if you'd like to see the health or hit points bar of other players and bosses. Passing with, what's that?
54.
54% is not a ton.
Yeah, 54 want both. 22 want just bosses.
You rolled those two together.
23 want
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I think there'd be a good chance if just bosses might chat.
I can certainly see why people would want it in bosses. It's
Yeah.
something I'd find useful as a PVM.
17 people wanted just players, and I could see the Jewel Arena having some fun with that.
Yeah. I suppose it boils down to why would you want just players when you have bosses as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Roman asks, will you consider rebuffing or buffing the circle, or will it remain how it is?
Given how many times we tried to get a buff through the poll, I think it's kind of sealed its own fate for now.
If you have some crazy good idea, by all means, pitch it to us. But we can't think of anything. Yep. All right. Tails asks, right now the Artie Cloak 3 only offers a single daily farm patch teleport, whereas the Explorer Rings 3, for example, has unlimited. Could the Artie Cloak 3 be buffed to have 3 daily teleports?
It certainly can. It's a case of changing a number. Whether that was to pass a poll or not is another question. That's all we need to do, really.
Okay.
There's not many balancing concerns over it.
All right. OSRS Final asks, can we have some new teleport portals for our house using the teleport locations from the Lunar Spellbook?
Need a new room.
Yeah, again, the number of varieties on the existing hotspots is sadly full. I went and checked.
Now I've got a couple of construction updates slated for poll sometime soon, TM. But don't have a Moonclan portal in there, but I do plan on giving you an altar that lets you change spellbooks, provided you've got some like 90 construction.
So that would be a home teleport to Luna at that point.
Effectively, yeah.
All right. In addition to that play around house question, let me just find this one. Exercise asks, well, it says, so currently in our play around houses we can use teleports such as Ring of Duelings, etc. But when trying to use a minigame teleport, it doesn't allow us. Can this be fixed?
Why did we disallow it?
I'd look into that one. Don't know the answer, sorry.
That is a first. All right.
Well, there we go.
Next question. Mini Finbar asks, any update on death mechanics?
We've done that.
We
earlier,
did that
yeah.
one too.
Yeah.
All right. Games asks, can you raise the buy limit on pie dishes? Cooking pie is currently dead content because you only buy 40 every few hours.
Sure.
Yeah.
Easy enough.
Who's making pie dishes?
I was wondering the same thing. I figured maybe an Iron Man. I don't know. Benville asks, can the Dragon Defender be changed to look less pink and more red to match the rest of the dragon gear?
When Mod Ghost designed that, he spent a long time gathering feedback on Twitter and went through a couple of iterations, and it was the most popular one that made it out to launch, obviously. You're welcome to ask him to look into changing it, but we really can't, especially with graphics, there's different tastes and different opinions. We're never going to be able to please absolutely everybody. But yeah, send those requests up to him and he'll probably get back to you with a proper technical answer.
Yeah. With as many requests as there are from the
Yeah.
one guy to say change it, there is just as many saying I actually like it the way it is.
Yeah.
So I'd have difficulty seeing that pass poll. All right, next question is from Iron, who asks, when might we get to see preferred tasks implemented?
I've seen that Slayer tasks. I'm not seeing that much demand for them. Even if it was just rework the tables, you should get a whole lot more preferable tasks these days anyway. And given that we just had a summer full of Slayer updates, I wouldn't expect any more too soon.
Okay.
Certainly.
A few more here before we look for maybe a couple from the chat. Oh boy says, more bank space pulls.
We gave them hundreds of slots, and we haven't released that many new items since.
Yeah.
And we have loads of bank spaces.
It's the collectors.
So
Yeah, they need to start looking at how they organise their banks, I think.
Yeah, how many banks? It's like 800.
We're on 800.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe the next
Too
step
many.
for bank space will be things like into the construction things to put, one of the things we keep getting asked for, I guess, is a big chest you can stick all your clue scroll stuff in you need for your clue scroll clues.
Yeah.
Emote ones, you mean?
Yeah.
I would
the
do an
emote
armor
ones.
chest as well,
Yeah.
where you could store all the armor stuff.
Yeah, so that would be the next step, I think.
Many pulls is in the chat.
There was
Although a
no
lot of
bank
new
space.
items would come with sailing, so I think we could probably up the bank limit should sailing make it into game.
That could well be a possibility.
All right. Next question from the chat coming in. Ladon says, can we change the color of private messages? That blue is hard to read at God Wars Dungeon.
I made a menu for that a long time ago. It was fairly effective though. It's amazing how few colours were actually suitable, because the way RuneScape does drop shadows, they're always black. So if you don't have a light colour next to it, then it looks, well, really awful. And we found that most of the light colours available showed up worse than the light blue. Yellow had its uses in a few places, and also pale green. And I think pink might have some possibilities, not just because of his socks. I mean, because we tried out quite a few colours when I was doing XP drops, and pink works.
would it be possible to get white with like a black outline? Because that always
We can
tends
have
to work.
white with a black drop shadow.
Yeah.
We don't have an automatic way of generating an entire outline.
Mhm.
Might be ways around it.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting one in the chat there from Stackimps, who says, what will happen to players with the quest cape if another quest is added? We had discussed adding another quest type.
Same as in, well, it was in 2007 when a new quest was added. The item unequips itself. If you don't have space for it in your inventory or bank, it goes to the wise old man who looks after it until you are next allowed it.
That would be tough. All right, next
They asked for
question.
a new quest, so you would have thought they'd be quite happy to do it, really. I
We haven't
guess.
actually touched that code.
Probably.
It's just been sitting there since Old School came out, and it's waiting for another quest to be launched.
Yeah.
Maz copied it for the music cape.
All right, No Help asks, can we get a Trollheim teleport with the Lunar Spellbook?
No,
Is
but
that
you
right?
can spellbook swap from the Lunar Spellbook and use the Trollheim Teleport on the normal spellbook.
Sounds a bit tough. That takes
Yeah.
Well,
place.
if they're talking about the lunar spell from R3, you can which is one way you can teleport directly to the herb patch. So they might be talking about that.
Yeah.
And I'd probably say no to that, unless we had a reason to add it, rather than just simply adding it as a new high-level spell.
We did introduce Trollheim teleport tablets, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Yes.
Which would go some way to helping with this.
We do have a lot of teleports in game now.
Yes.
Like a lot.
It'd be nice to have one
Many of them are
farming
free.
patch that you can't directly teleport to as well.
All right.
That'd be true.
Fossil asks, can Mod Alfred and Mod Ghost review my artwork if I bring it to RuneFest? Mod Ghost replied and said yes, he would love to. If you want to meet the two of them at RuneFest, by all means, go for it. Bring your artwork.
Show it to all of us.
Yeah.
I like pictures.
Picture's good.
All right. Last one here. Dalek Cookie says, can we get a mid-level Slayer boss assigned by lower masters so higher level Slayers cannot get it?
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to lock content if you're over a certain level.
Yeah.
I would like to have a scalable boss, which gets more difficult depending on the levels you have. I think we've probably spoken about it before, but as you go past certain thresholds, it unlocks more things on the drop table. So it gets more rewarding as your combat level goes up, but it's always a challenge to fight. You know, it's not a straightforward fight each time. So whether you're combat level 10 or combat level 90, you can still fight it. It'll still be a challenge for you. But as you go past these different waypoints, the rewards get better and the attacks get different as well. So it sort of varies itself that way.
I like that.
That's what I think would solve that
It's a great idea.
quite nicely.
All right. More questions from the chat coming in. RuneScape KW. Anything more about the construction update you can tell us?
I'm actually doing my talk on RuneFest about that construction update, so watch the stream there for more information. RuneFest is
Third.
Not that long away.
Third.
3 weeks away.
3rd
Yeah.
of October.
Got that. All right. RS noobs, any chances to pull Rev Caves?
Not again.
Yeah.
I think that's
That's a pretty straightforward, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Faza asks, if we have more bank space, is there a possibility of more bank tabs?
Good question.
Don't see why not. Might need a bit more rejigging of the interface to make space for them. Because at the moment they kind of fill it a bit, but we can rejig the interface. Got a bit more width we can play with.
All right. Madara, another nice name. Will you be considering adding any new free-to-play quests?
Not at the moment.
No.
No.
All right. Marvin. Do Dragon Implings have more of a chance of dropping the Glory Amulet on Entrana? Saw this
Can
one
you
come
can
up,
you even
actually.
open Impling on Entrada?
You can. I'm kind of thinking if there's a check, and if there is,
If there is, you would have less chance.
I
Zero
don't
chance,
think we've
right?
read that code lately and memorised it, so I'm afraid we don't know the answer to that.
no. Actually, no, aren't all the weapons noted from a dragon impling anyway?
Yes, that's possibly true.
Yeah, you and I manually open some at some point.
I don't know.
The answer to that is maybe, maybe not. We don't know that bit.
All right. I think our final question for the stream before we round things up, maybe a couple more actually. Fizzy Bubble asks, when will you hire new devs?
We've been interviewing the people who've applied for the 2 vacancies, and we hope to get some in for a trial when we've talked to some more of the applicants by phone.
Yeah, so it's all ongoing. We've had, I don't know in total, but what's been sent through to me is 10, 12, 22, probably about 25, 30 applicants have come through. We've talked to 4, 5, 6, 7 of them by the time we've finished, and then we're bringing in the best of those for trial and see if they're good enough and what have you. So it's all looking good.
So soon.
Yeah.
Recruitment can take ages, but it's going really well at the moment.
Yes, yeah, no, it's really, really good. And if you have applied and you haven't written on your CV, I play Old School Runescape, write on your CV, I play Old School Runescape, because I'm getting loads that come through that says, I can do this, that, and the other, but because they mention everything about RuneScape, they're not getting interviewed. And we want somebody who knows about RuneScape, simple as that.
Yeah, we want one of you.
Yeah.
Cambridge is full of programmers, but we want one of you.
Yes, indeed, indeed. In fact, we haven't had anybody from Cambridge who's been interviewed yet. There you go.
Maybe they work for us already.
Maybe.
So there you have it. You might just see a new face on the couch shortly or
Yeah.
soon, TM.
Yeah, somebody with their face on the couch. That would be
Yes, yeah.
I think we'll finish up with this last question before we round things up. From Smith, who asks, Ash, do you want another cup of tea?
Yes.
That was not expressing that.
Okay, so to round things up, guys, we had some very interesting questions. This will obviously all be followed up on the YouTube. If you missed it, we upload it after this. In addition, we made a pretty big change today.
Yep.
Just prior to the stream. Does
I think
anybody
they've
wanna-
noticed.
Yeah, basically AFKing has stopped. Simple as that, really.
I've seen a few requests for us to look at ways of buffing the smoke staff and possibly even Guthans to make them more desirable. I think Guthans is always going to be desirable, maybe not quite in the way it was before, but if the smoke staff needs a bit of a buff, we can certainly look at that. If you've got anything particular in mind, do send it in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Love to see
And
it.
in addition to that, of course, we are polling sailing.
Yes,
So
must vote. If you haven't voted already, please do vote.
It is actually happening. It's not a joke, I promise.
Go read the dev blog first, so you know what you're voting on.
And check
Very
out
good
his
point.
video. I hear it's the best ever.
best video ever.
It is a really nice video.
Yeah.
And if you've got any questions about whatever on the dev blog, feel free to post on the thread or drop me a tweet, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Absolutely.
Okay. Aside from that, we'll thank you guys for watching. Give the stream a follow, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Take care. Bye bye.
See you.